on it, but I have. What am I going to catch the Lakers at plus 200 against a team that if the playoffs started today, there will be no playoffs? Shit, I didn't even realize we were live. My bad.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just bringing you in as you were talking about the Lakers because you talk about how bad they are, but you can't stop betting on them.
No, I can stop betting on them, but I just think that at plus 205 against the Pacers and LeBron, it's like LeBron's playing. Like, why are they plus 2? I don't care how bad they look. They should never be, especially considering they know how much money comes in on the Lakers by even somebody that's not like a big time gambler, like somebody that just shows up to Vegas and like, who's playing tonight? They're like Lakers. The casual fan is gonna bet on the Lakers no matter what. Like,
yeah, Lakers, Cowboys, Yankees,
they tell them,
public.
Yeah, but especially if they tell them, yeah, if you give us $100 and you win, we'll give you 205 back plus your 100. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody's gonna turn that down.
No, man. Shit, I should have went to the MGM earlier today.
I don't know if they have a sports. They didn't have a sports book when I was there. Now, granted, that was 3 years ago, but they might have one now. Really nice hotel though.
I hope so, man. So it's our Thursday show, but we're doing it on a Wednesday because of Thanksgiving, and we're going to do an abbreviated show today. I sent a few topics over. I feel like we have to talk about Matt Nagy. I mean, because Matt Nagy is a regular viewer of the show.
Yeah,
he's probably not even tuned in yet, but we got to give Matt Nagy a little bit of burn. So, Matt is allegedly getting fired after the game tomorrow, no matter what he does. I considered getting tickets, like you said last week, and then they said they're starting Andy Dalton. I'm like, hey, look here. Yeah. My eyes deserve better than Andy Dalton versus some kids whose name I can't even remember right now. Like, absolutely not.
Tim Boyle. But I actually JP or Major Parlay had said that he wasn't playing, but they're saying it's like a 60-40% chance he plays. So Goff actually, the odds are in his favor to play based on what the fantasy ticker said in our fantasy league.
If I'm not seeing Justin Fields, I have no interest in watching the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions.
It's going to be a bad football game, but it's still a Thanksgiving Day football game. And those are always in Detroit.
Right. So how do you feel about this Matt Nagy thing? Do you think Nagy should finish out the season? Do you think they should let him go 2 weeks ago? Like, what is it like going into a week saying, hey, man, you're fired in a couple of days, but finish out that game plan and just stay here?
I think that the issue was that they probably had already started instilling some of the – I mean, as much as they don't want to admit it, they'd already started instilling some of the game plan for that game because they knew it was a short week. And – I think that for the Bears brass that they kind of looked at it and said, we already have been having questions about you. Like last year, we were already thinking about this. This year, you're proving us right again. And I think that the last straw is, having a game one against a team that you probably should have beat at home without their best player. Because we've already talked about this with the Ravens after, that Dolphins game. They don't really have any playmakers, and they're on running back number 12. And so it's just kind of like a guy that's never started a football game in the NFL starts as a rookie and beats you. Like, you were up, like, with less than a minute 30 left. You were up, and they had to drive the field, and they did that. And it's just like, yeah, it falls on the players, but that sounds like almost like preparation too. And then in-game calls, and I know he's not the defensive coordinator because Matt Nagy's an offensive guy, but how do you not score more points? I don't know. It's unfortunate, but yeah, he absolutely, even if he finishes out the season, everybody knows he won't be there next year. So it's just like they might as well get it over with now and see if there's somebody on the staff that they like potentially, and do that whole charade.
They're going to clean house, but luckily for Nagy, that Bieniemy will get a job this year. If Eric Bieniemy doesn't get a job, then we just got to call shenanigans on the whole process. There's too many college jobs open. There's going to be too many pro jobs open. Right, and he deserves one. But I'm just saying there's too many jobs that are going to be open, good college jobs and decent NFL jobs, that if Bieniemy doesn't get a job, it's shenanigans. And I think Nagy finds himself ending up right there back in KC with Andy Reid. Absolutely. And we're talking about offensive coordinators. And your boy, man, the Clapper got fired this week.
I mean,
and I don't get, and like, I don't get, I mean, I get why he got fired, because I don't understand why he got hired. But is Joe Judge already trying to save face and save his job?
absolutely. I mean, that's the easiest way to kind of put it, because granted, the offense hadn't been very productive, right? I mean, but at the same time, the Giants are just a dumpster fire. He can't do anything about injuries. They were without Kenny Golladay for several weeks. Kadarius Toney missed several games. Saquon Barkley's missed several games. What can he do without the weapons? And Daniel Jones is already proving that they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. So they're going to move on from him. Matter of fact, what's going to end up happening in New York, they're going to clean house too. I can just see it already. Gettleman, they're all getting out of there. They're going to clean house. And obviously the eye is on the prize, because good thing in Seattle.
Big trust Russ.
Well, it's an end of an era there, clearly, with Pete, Schneider, and Russ. You know what I mean? And they had a good run. I think a lot of people have got to realize that Seattle Seahawk football before Russell Wilson was pretty much non-existent. I mean, Steve Largent is about the only player that I know that ever played for the Seahawks. Oh, and Sean
Alexander.
Yeah, okay. And they had that one team that
Matt Hasselbeck, baby. Come on now.
Yeah, okay. I mean, look, the point is, yeah, they have that one team. But, like, outside of that, what all do you really know about Seahawks football? Nothing. Until Russ gets there, all this success. They hadn't had a losing season. Some things just wear out, and it's time to move on. If Brady can move on from New England, Seattle can move on from either of those guys, or one of them at the bare minimum. So it sounds like he'll be in New York.
He'll be in New York. He'll pick the staff. He's going to pick everything. I really hope Gettleman's got to go. I have hope that Joe Judge, maybe a college coach one of these days, but when Gettleman's picking the groceries, it's like, hey man, I'm vegan, and you just went to the fucking meat locker and you just bought out the whole fucking
you went to a butcher.
Yeah, you went to a butcher shop.
You know, they're not going to chop up Beyond Meat for you there.
No.
You know? You got to go get that from the frozen section and the already prepackaged stuff. That doesn't exist at a butcher, because a butcher cuts meat. And so, Gettleman, but he proved that in Carolina too. You know, if you look back at his past in Carolina, Cam Newton was an automatic pick. So, he didn't do any research on, who's the next best quarterback. Everybody knew Cam was going one. And then, I don't know, they never really built. I mean, you had Luke Kuechly. They had guys, but that team wasn't built very well either, honestly. No. If you really look at it, Cam never had the weapons that he needed, I think, to be as successful, to get the fullest extent of how successful he could be.
Is Robbie Anderson the best receiver that Cam Newton has had in his career?
Greg Olsen is, and he's not even a receiver. You know what I mean?
Because I won't even say Steve Smith, because they didn't get along, and it was a 1 year. Yeah, he was on his way out.
He was there before Gettleman anyway.
Right. So, but with Jason Garrett being the clapper here, you know, the guy who got clapped up out of there, what do you think the future for Jason Garrett is? I mean, if you look at Jason Garrett's head coaching record, he probably deserved to have Joe Judge answering to him instead of vice versa.
Fair, but I think that too, we have to look at what he had, and Jason Garrett had Tony Romo, who, regardless of what people want to believe of him, was always an above-average quarterback in the NFL. I would definitely say, I don't know, and he had probably one elite year, the year that Dallas should have beat the Packers, the Dez no-catch rule.
Yeah,
he was definitely an MVP candidate that year. He was really good, and he just always got injured. So, but regardless, I think that Dallas, they always had provided, because Jerry, speaking of picking groceries, Jerry's always done a hell of a job picking groceries. I think it's kind of weird that old ass man can identify football talent so well. He built a hell of an offensive line. DeMarco Murray, he ran him into the ground, but gosh, he had a productive 3 years.
But did he replace him right on time though?
He did. Because they didn't pay him.
Yeah, right. They had Darren McFadden. Rushed for 1,000 yards in the Tony Romo hurt season and Dez from hell season, and then they pick up Zeke right after. And now they got Tony Pollard and Zeke. Jerry Jones they're not winning like Cowboys fans want to, but he runs a hell of an operation over there.
He does, and that's why it's hard for them to always get away from it, because they do have players like like Diggs, like goddamn Parsons, like these are guys. It's just like God, how do you? And it's not like they're having the number 1, number 2 pick. I mean, they're smashing these guys in the middle of the first round, and they're coming out and being arguably top 5 players from the whole draft every time.
Yeah, man. So I think I heard Colin talk about this yesterday or today on his podcast. I can't remember, but he was like, Jason Garrett is probably at this phase in his life a better head coach than coordinator because he's a good walk around guy, a manager of all the different sections. But when it comes to innovative play calls, nobody ever looked at a Dallas offense and said, man, that's what the hell we need in our building, except for Joe Judge.
Yeah. And I think that too, because the owners of the Giants, the Mara family, they've owned the Giants for a minute, and a lot of people don't even realize this, but Jason Garrett played for the Giants too. And so like I can't help but feel like maybe that had a little influence. Like, what I mean? Just because I know everybody looks at him as Troy Aikman's backup, but then he backed up in New York too. And so that could be something about it. But nonetheless, they're going to clean house in that organization. I just don't see how you don't. And at this point, they already picked up Saquon's 5th year, right? So he's probably going to be there. They're not picking up Daniel Jones. I think that he's proven time and time again that he's basically Mitchell Trubisky. Like, you know what I mean? A guy that has – because Mitch actually shoots – speaking of us talking about Matt Nagy, Mitch has shown flashes. Hell, the Bears went to the playoffs last year at 8-8. And
Bears went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years with fucking Matt Nagy.
Yeah, and that's why it'll be easy for Nagy to get an OC job. I think he's a better OC than Jason Garrett, for instance. Like, you know what I mean? So –
you're talking about cleaning house, and I think there's somebody who's going to be getting kicked out of the Heisman house soon. Man, Baker Mayfield. We talked a little bit about Bake last week and how he's been struggling, and a lot of it's injury. But now Baker is losing the fans. They booed him at home this week, and then he comes out and he doesn't talk to the media after the game. He doesn't shake hands in a win. And when he addresses the media this week, he's pretty much like, I don't know you guys anything. Only thing I owe is to people in this locker room. Yeah, in high school football. And maybe even in college football to a certain degree. But when you're playing for this multi-billion-dollar organization and the fans are paying good money to watch you play, and the media is covering you, and part of the reason why you get all these damn progressive commercials. Like, Baker is by far the worst player to be a lead man for a company. I think somebody needs to get with Progressive and figure out what the hell they're doing. If you have Progressive insurance, I'd recommend you go to Allstate. At least Allstate gets All-Stars.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I thought it was weird, too. And I get it because he did win the Heisman, so it's like he had a popularity coming into it. Oklahoma being – definitely a top 10 program in college, in history of college football, they're a top 10 program. But like outside of that, I didn't understand how he kept getting all these commercials. He had one, and they didn't even win nothing. You know what I mean? That year when he did put up the numbers, and I don't know. It's an example of crowning someone too early. I don't see Lamar Jackson in fucking commercials. Like,
no.
You know what I'm saying? Like
the guy who's the MVP,
one of the most popular players in the NFL. Like,
he's the MVP. He's a one of one, and he's fighting for another MVP. Whereas we've seen Baker before, the 5'11" cocky white kid who thinks he has a little bit of rhythm because he likes rap music and he plays football, he was decent, but walks around like he's a 10 and like, dude, you're like a 7, but because you act like a 10, we're gonna treat you like a 5 when you act like a 7.
Yeah,
we've seen Baker 1,000 times, and he's killed himself by playing through injuries. Like, this is not the 1980s. Toughness is overrated. Get healed and be good.
Yeah, because then you're pretty much using it as an excuse. But he's in a contract year too, and so like, I don't know if they are gonna tag him. I feel like that's what's gonna ultimately end up happening. I think that they're just gonna end up tagging him because
he still has the 5th year. He still has the 5th year to play out next year.
But okay, true. But how they like getting those deals done with a year left on the contract, and it would be I don't, and it depends on the dynamic of the organization. Maybe they do want to see one more year or whatever. But then if he balls out, if you don't give him everything he wants, then he'll split and somebody else will pay him too. And so that's that, that organization versus player, kind of similar to what we saw with Dak. And Dak did get tagged. And it's weird. Dak getting hurt and not playing showed his worth more than anything he could have done on the field. And I think with Baker, if he were to get hurt, kind of like he already has this season, Case Keenum came in and won a football game on primetime TV, short week because it was a Thursday night game.
Case Keenum led a team to an NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Baker knows that, and Case Keenum did that with Kevin Stefanski calling plays for him. So Baker knows that if he goes out, he made his value may plummet.
I forget that Case, obviously, when he was in Minnesota, that Stefanski was the OC. That makes so much sense. Why
hear this out now. Baker is killing his stock right now, but it may go rock bottom if he were to actually let Case Keenum play, because Case Keenum might hit a higher ceiling than Baker's hit with Kevin Stefanski.
Mm-hmm. And I think that too, when you really look at it, Baker, and I kind of said this when we saw the comments that he made about the booing, that he didn't care or whatever. And
you care.
Yeah, he cares. That's why he commented on it. And ultimately him doing that to me, like I said in the group, I said, this is the beginning of the end. Like it is. Like that to me was like a trigger moment. Because as a fan, I know how I would feel like with what it is that he said. And I would kind of be like, well, fuck you too. Like basically, you know what I mean? Like, and until you start playing better, it's going to continue to be fuck you. Like,
what if Matt said that to us after that 25-0 shellacking? And I think it hits different if you're like a fan watching on TV. But when you're a fan who's a season ticket holder and you actually say, hey, I'm setting aside this amount of my money and time to support this team. And then for somebody who is actually making the money that I'm spending, like some of that goes into his pocket.
For sure.
And you say, I don't care about you.
His too, like that directly goes to him.
You're saying like, I don't care about you because you're probably the same fan who's talking while we're trying to run a play. And now you're booing me. Yeah, bro, because you suck. And we don't pay for suck.
If you played better, nobody would be saying any of this, but you're not playing better. And it's just like you're still doing commercials. You're still coming out and, getting pieced up, barely beating a team that you were favored to win by 2 touchdowns at home. Like, you know what I mean? Against a guy that nobody even has heard of.
We gave the Steelers a pass for tying them because Ben didn't play.
Right. And that was disappointing too, though.
It was disappointing, but we was like, you know what, Mason Rudolph is trash. Like we've seen that. We've seen that movie before.
And they keep keeping him as the backup, though. It's like,
from what I've been hearing and reading, Tomlin doesn't have much choice in that roster, man. He cooks the groceries that he's given. It's like that show on the Food Network where they like give you that crazy list of groceries and you have to make a meal out of it.
Yeah,
that's Tomlin. But hey, man, let's get to the picks. I told you it's abbreviated today. Are you doing a Thursday special, or are we just going to do the 2 6-packs?
I've got a Thursday special. Let me. I got to pull it up because I already screenshotted pretty much everything I was going to do.
All right, no, we're not going to do Russ Rehab, and let me see. You know what? We're just going to put Big Baby and Friends Thursday special for this one, so I'm going to cut the clips today. I mean tomorrow morning. I promise.
Absolutely. Well, that's fine. But nonetheless, all right, so let's kick this thing off. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there that will be viewing this once it gets put on Instagram, and obviously for those that are listening and that will be listening on Spotify or Apple Music. But let's get to this Thanksgiving Day 6-pack. All right, so we're going to kick this thing off the right way. After finding out that Andy Dalton is the starter and that the Detroit Lions may or may not be without Jared Goff, it kind of made me want to change this one up a little because I was pretty sure that Jared Goff was going to play. And let me look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and do this just to make it easier on myself. I initially had the Detroit Lions over 9.5 points in the first half. I don't know why. I just thought that they were going to score 10 points. But depending on what happens, and this one can be interchangeable. So let's just put that down to 9.5, over 9.5 for Detroit.
Okay.
And that's only if Jared Goff is playing. If Jared Goff plays tomorrow, I would pick that because they're overdue for a win, and I just expect them to score points. If Jared Goff does not play and it's Andy Dalton versus Tim Boyle, hammer that under 41. That shit's not going over. Like, yo, we might get another third. The Lions just came from a 13-10 game against a team that, similarly to the Bears, probably scores. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's going to be an ugly, ugly, ugly football game. But we'll go with those two. If Goff plays, Lions over 9.5 on the points. If he doesn't, take the under 41. Next pick. We're mixing in college and NFL because we've only got 3 NFL games, but there's 2 college games. So Fresno State to San Jose State. Hammer Fresno State money line. They're minus 300. They're a much better team than San Jose State. San Jose State had all that sizzle from last year, that shortened season when they went like 7-1. They made it to the I think it was the WAC championship. Fresno State is a cut above everybody in that conference. Guys like Devontae Adams, Derek Carr come out of there. Plus, they were ranked earlier this year, and they only lost to Oregon by 7. And so give me Fresno State at San Jose State. Next game, Matt Corral. We talked about this. I was real disappointed in him, man. You don't beat Vanderbilt by 2 touchdowns at home, and you got that offense, and Lane Kiffin's calling plays. And he didn't even play terrible. And it wasn't the defense either because it's not like they gave up a ton of points, but
they just didn't score enough.
Yeah, and that was what was weird. It's just like, come on, man. I saw Georgia put up like 35 on them in the first quarter. Like, you better fucking like score some more points. Cover the spread on that game was 36. They won by 2 touchdowns. That's ridiculous.
When Stetson and Munkin have a better offensive showing than you, we got a problem.
It is. And that game was at Vanderbilt. Ole Miss was at home against Vanderbilt. I don't give a fuck. There's no excuse for that.
Them boys got hammered in Oxford Friday night. That's all.
Yeah, they had to. They had to. But either way, we're going to go with Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Mississippi State, pretty good team. But I'm going to still believe in Corral, even though I got really turned off by what they did against Vanderbilt. I really did. But I just think that talent-wise, offensively, it's more high-flying. They're just going to outscore them. So, and that you can get them as a dog. They're even money. Give me Ole Miss money line. And then next, let's move into the midday slate, the dinner time slate for Thanksgiving. We got the Cowboys. We got the Raiders at the Cowboys. So we're going to double dip into this game. They got the spread at 8 right now. We're going to hammer that 8. I'm not even going to buy the 1.5. I actually like Dallas to beat the shit out of the Raiders. I think that they're in a downward spiral that now finally Gruden and Ruggs' situations have just caught up to them because they were playing all right even after Gruden was gone. And then last week they got thrashed at home by the fucking Bengals. And the Bengals have a good offense, but yeah, I expect more of that. And, you know, me going to Dallas for that Falcons-Cowboys game, I already knew Dallas had a good offense, but they're coming off a tough loss to a good Chiefs team on the road where their defense actually played well. The offense just didn't do anything. I expect that offense to get back on a roll. So we're going to take the Cowboys -8, and we're going to take the over at over 50.5 in that game. The Raiders will score a little bit more points. I see this game being, 41-20-ish. But I do expect the Cowboys to honestly whip their ass and for that game to go over. So, and then for the final game, dessert. We're going to go ahead and we're going to hammer the Bills money line at the Saints. New Orleans sucks, and that's like apparent. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't mean to say that way as a Falcons fan, but they suck. If Trevor Siemian is going to be your quarterback, you fucking suck. And so
Taysom just got the bag again.
I know, and so I'm curious to see last week against the Eagles. That's why I picked the Saints. I thought they were honestly going to start him because I'm like, there's no way you can trot Siemian back out there. He lost to the Falcons, who just got their ass beat 2 straight times in 1 week. And then you lost to somebody, the Titans, who lost to the Texans the following week. And granted, that was a closer game, but it's just like you had Taysom last year and you started him and you guys were winning games. Why? You just paid him. So nonetheless, Bills are struggling right now. They started 4-1, and since then they're 2-3. They don't look like the team I thought that they were. And it does look like New England's got a really good chance of taking that division over. So,
well, Josh Allen now has to play with fans, and he turned back into Josh Allen.
you're a dick for that. He's
Last
gonna play
year,
with fans.
last year, Josh Allen's season was Cam Newton's 2015 season. It's just an outlier. We're just gonna look at the peak as if it's the regular, and it's not, man. Josh Allen is highly talented but highly inconsistent. He's white Cam Newton.
No, absolutely. And so, but we're going to still hammer the Bills money line. I think they
Absolutely.
I think they and they got them at a pretty fair price, minus 260. And really, I would take the spread, but I know that I went to New Orleans for Thanksgiving when the Falcons played them there. Those fans are going to still be fired up, no matter how bad their football team is. And I expect that noise to create something, and it'd be a close game. Hell, when New Orleans came here to Atlanta, we had it down to the very end. It came down to we were only down, I think, 8, or maybe it was even 7 at that point. A Young Waku onside kick. We had recovered 1 and scored, kicked a field goal. I think it was 7 that we lost by.
Mm-hmm.
But the crowd was honestly into it. And, of course, it's the Saints Falcons, so there was a lot of Saints fans. But it was also it was enough Falcons fans that showed up. And so I think that in those type of games on holidays that fans do play a part. And the Saints, to me, God, I don't believe I'm saying this, but they have the best fans in the NFL. And so I just expect the game to be close. So I won't touch the spread, but definitely give me the money line. Bills get back on track.
All right, man. Yeah, that's beautiful. We were at a Falcons away game at the damn Benz on Thursday, as far as I remember. Let's get into your actual 6-packs. We got to get these done in 5 minutes. We're thinking college or NFL first. You tell me.
I got the college one already down, so let me go to that.
Parlay Pete's college football 6-pack. Man, we had some great college football topics for you that I really wanted to discuss, but we'll get to them next week because they'll be even more clear next week, leading into championship Saturday. So let's get it.
Yep. Are you gonna be here? Georgia, Bama?
I can't. I got to record a pod that day at 5:00. Yeah, I know.
We're gonna be getting drunk as shit. I got tickets too, and I'll talk to you off air about for that.
Okay, yeah, we may talk, and I may just bring the operation. I might just bring all my stuff up north and then record from north, because yeah.
All right, so let's kick this thing off right. So, all right, we're gonna start off with Tulsa at SMU. I like SMU. SMU, even though they just fired their coach and got their ass kicked by Cincinnati, they're a superior football team to Tulsa. I don't expect those guys to give up. They are still a winning team, and Tulsa isn't. So give me SMU money line. Next game, I actually like Oklahoma to cover at Oklahoma State. That's going to be a big game because more than likely they're both playing each other again the very next week for the title. Oklahoma State's apparently got a legit defense, and Oklahoma sucks. They're like the sorriest one-loss team ever entering the last week of the season, but both can still make the playoffs. So give me Oklahoma plus 4.5 at Oklahoma State. They typically own that rivalry, and if there's a time to show up, it's this week. And so give me them. Alabama at Auburn. Alabama fucked us up last week and the week before that. That was the only one I lost 2 weeks ago. But I don't care. They're playing Auburn. I just saw Auburn get their ass kicked by South Carolina. So give me Alabama in a tune-up game against Auburn to cover this 19.5 and be ready for Georgia the very next week.
Did you see Bo Nix saying that Alabama gets officiated differently when they play against each other? Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
I wonder if Cam Newton feels the same way.
Right.
Because he's undefeated against Nick Saban. So, it's okay, bro. You'll never beat Saban. So, yeah, let's get Alabama minus 19.5. And then, let's see, we're down 3. Oregon State at Oregon. Oregon really dropped the deuce against Utah on national TV and lost their playoff spot. They're not going to lose at home to Oregon State, and they got them at pretty good value. So, give me Oregon money line. Next game. I was teetering between 2 for this one because I know what I'm going to do for my last game. I'm going to take the easy way out and say Clemson at South Carolina, give me Clemson money line. Not a great value, but if you're just trying to hike up a parlay, I think that Clemson is still better than South Carolina, even though South Carolina's looked a lot better. You know, they beat the shit out of Florida, but everybody's beating the shit out of Florida these days. Hell, Sanford was up 2 touchdowns on him at the Swamp. So, and now Dan Mullen's gone too. So, like,
which is crazy. He should have kept his job.
I don't know. they're 2-6 in the SEC this year, and there's only now. Granted, they played Georgia and Bama, but outside of that, who else should Florida be losing to?
I mean, they shouldn't have been losing, but it was a bad year, man. He's played in what 2,
who else
3
should they be losing to?
He has the 3rd highest winning percentage in school history behind Urban,
Spurrier and who?
Spurrier and Urban. He played in New Year's Six bowls twice. Like. He's not. It's not a shit show down there.
What is it? A bad recruiting class? Like, what do we blame this on? Who do you blame it on? The play. Now we already talked to Josh about this, even though he can't ever hear us because he's over there getting hacked over his Ray-Bans. But we talk about this all the time. Emory Jones sucks, and so I don't know what he was rated coming out, but that nigga sucks. Like,
and AR-15, he ain't shooting straight. That ain't no Rittenhouse 15, man.
You're a dick. All right. And then for the final pick. We're going to go ahead, man. We're going to hammer an upset, but we're going to do it on the points. I actually like Michigan to cover +8 against Ohio State. I think the game is going to be close because if Jim can't do it now, when is he going to have a chance to do it?
Never.
This is the best chance to do it. This might be the best, if not the second best team, certainly the best team since they got cheated that one year against Ohio State. This is the best team that Michigan's had. They're at home. Get that monkey off your back, man. And
one of the worst good Ohio State teams we've seen in a minute.
For sure. And what it is they're young. Everybody on that team's like a freshman and sophomore. So if you can't beat them this year, he'll never beat them. And so as far as I'm concerned, so let's roll with Michigan +8. They're at good odds, -105 on that +8. I'm not going to buy any points or anything. Give me a +8. I don't see how this isn't a one-possession game, to be totally honest.
I feel like you'll take the money line of your premium picks.
We'll see.
All right, man. Let's get to the 6-pack.
All right, so
NFL 6-pack.
I'm kind of on the fly with the NFL 6-pack, but that's okay. So I'm kind of looking at this, and I see a couple of things that kind of stand out to me. We'll start off with the Titans. The Titans at the Patriots. I know that the Titans lost to the Texans, and that's weird, but they have them on the money line at 250, and they're still the number 1 seed in the AFC as of today. I'm going to take them at the +7.5. I'm going to buy the half a point. I think that the game will be a lot closer. I know the Patriots are hot, but goddamn, it's not that great.
Do you say +7.5?
Yeah, +7.5. They're +7, but I'll buy the half a point. But they have them as a touchdown underdog. It's in New England, so I guess maybe I don't know if the weather's ugly. I guess I'd have to look at that. But like, hell, has Mac Jones played in an ugly weather game? I don't know. But at the same time, I think that's just a bit far-fetched and an overreaction to what happened last week, considering how well that team had played and how everybody was saying, well, Derrick Henry could be back at the end of the year. This might be the best team in the AFC. And I know that they just signed Golden Tate and cut Adrian Peterson, but give me the +7.5. I don't know. I don't see how they don't get it done. And then for the next game, we got Chargers at the Broncos. Give me the Chargers money line. I think they carry some of that momentum from the Pittsburgh Steelers game that turned out to be a shootout. I mean, they shut the Steelers offense out for 3 quarters, and they let them score like 27 points in the fourth quarter.
Ben is back, baby.
Yeah, I don't know how they did that, but I don't expect Teddy Bridgewater to do that. And I'm kind of on the Justin Herbert train. I think that they could be a sneaky good team. No Super Bowl contender for me, but definitely a team that if you faced them in the first round and they were coming to you, I wouldn't want to do it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to do it. Next game, I got the Minnesota Vikings at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers have quietly been playing great football, good team. So have the Vikings, though. And they came off arguably their biggest win of the year that probably saved their season. They're sitting in the wild card position. Kirk Cousins knows Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan knows Kirk Cousins. And a lot of people, even though they drafted Trey Lance, a lot of people, it's always been that rumor that, Kirk to San Francisco. Everson Griffin, we had that incident that just happened last night or early this morning. And I know he's still a pretty good player. He's still a star.
That's heavy in the locker room, man.
I know. And maybe they go out and they play for him. You know what I mean? And
yeah, they play for a safety.
That's why I'm going to take Minnesota plus 3.5 on the road. 49ers have only got one win at home when they beat the Rams on Monday Night Football. I like Minnesota in this spot. I just don't know if San Francisco can keep up offensively, to be totally honest with you. And that's kind of just how I feel about that. But next game, we got the Eagles at the Giants. I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm not going to make this mistake like I did last week.
You're going with the Eagles, man.
Yeah. I think
Jalen Hurts to hurt them.
I think that they're going to fucking steam them. I'm going to take the Eagles on the spread at minus 3.5. I just don't see where the Giants get it together. I mean, they just fired the Clapper, yesterday? Yeah. So we're talking about on a week where I guess these guys practice on Thanksgiving, but I don't know how that schedule works for them. You know what I mean? If you play on Sunday. And so maybe they do have an early practice and they let them go home early or something. I don't know, but
you got a new OC, man, and your offense was already bad.
Yeah, and you don't.
But hey,
you're still running the same plays.
The OC is the soup kitchen, and you remember what happened when Freddie started calling plays in Cleveland. When he came in after they got rid of my man from Pittsburgh and whatever his name is, the Hugh Jackson and the old Pittsburgh OC who had been looking like an all-pro every other year.
Right.
The soup kitchen might come in and get Daniel Jones right because he'll be like, hey, Dan.
And I think you're losing sound on me right now. Can you still? There we go. Now I can hear your sound back. All right, but nonetheless, let's get to the next game.
My back.
Yeah, you're good. You're good to go.
All right, cool.
Next game, and probably the game of the
week.
Yeah,
man, the old soup kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, look.
Let's keep going.
But probably the game of the week, Tampa Bay at Indianapolis. This is a steamy game because this is kind of a true test for the Bucs to go on the road to Indy, who is the hottest team in the NFL, with what many people consider maybe the MVP of the league. In my opinion, him and Cooper Kupp are the only two for the Offensive Player of the Year so far. As of right now, those are the only two players I would consider, and I would probably give it to Jonathan Taylor. And so
didn't we talk about that before he caught steam?
Yeah, he'd been hot and he was kind of – I mean, Carson Wentz is not the reason. Now, Carson Wentz, I'll credit him. He's not been turning the ball over. Like, he's been playing mistake-free football and doing what Frank Reich needs him to do, you know?
He's not the problem and he's not the reason.
Exactly. And so in this game, though, I'm going to go ahead and take a gander on it, man. Give me Tampa Bay -3. I think that Brady goes in the house of Manning and does what he normally used to fucking do, and that's get a W. It's the Super Bowl match we never got because Nick Foles was the quarterback of the Eagles. But Frank Reich and Carson Wentz will both get their chance to play Brady again with a much better supporting cast, and the chances are that we get we might even get an AB sighting this week. Who knows? I don't know. But Gronk's back, and that offense is a lot different with Gronk in the lineup for sure. Yeah, I'm going to hammer the Bucs on that money line. They're pretty good odds, too. I just love it. And then for the final pick of the Sunday slate, I was wrestling with touching the Falcons game. But as everybody knows, I will no longer bet on Falcons games on here. If you want to see what I think about the Falcons game, you can just buy the premium picks or don't because you probably already know what I think. And they have a relatively easy match. But for the final game, I'm going to stick this one in fucking Jew's face. I think the Steelers are going to get fucking rolled by the Bengals at home. And a lot of people might look at this game as a chance for an upset. But the Bengals already beat the shit out of the Steelers. And I just don't think that Big Ben, even though he's looked a lot better the last 2 weeks, I don't think that he's going to be able to go to Cincinnati where they play pretty well and get the W. So let's go ahead and let's roll with the Bengals -4.5. But we're going to buy the point to make it 3.5. I like them in a game, probably a 28-24. Steelers get the ball last, and they just can't move the ball down the field.
You know what? You like it. I love it, man. Hey, Parlay. Pete, has been a good one. I'm about to go get dinner. And we'll talk about that SEC championship in the group text or in our regular text.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, we gave y'all 18 great bets this week, man. Y'all go ahead and cash them in, make you a little bit of money, man. Big baby out.
All right, brother.